So some people make clear their complaints about Wargroove's design with various problems, namely unclear literal game-breaking glitches, excessive tutorial, poor unit balance, bad user interface and speeds, clear textures for characters, atrocious artificial intelligence, and of course, soulless gameplay that involves a definite amount of copy and paste from Advance Wars 1, a game made some 17-18 years back, except making things worse somehow. One user making complaints against the game, a user named Monty Sigurdsson, decided to tear at RNG S-Ranks being a thing, but with how S-Ranking tends to rely on the AI moving so specifically for no reason whatsoever that they end up being luck-based missions. People were basically telling him to, what else, yeah, but Monty Sigurdsson stood its ground, so I ended up providing my response. Monty Sigurdsson, thank you for making a point against S-Ranks being reliant on RNG. Although for reference, I do recommend that you say you've been Elden instead of using the term selfie, because anger shaming isn't a good thing anyway. Elden, by contrast, would be referring to the character from Apollo Justice who served noodles that used water and implied to be soaked with crow food, which is exactly what Stop Having Fun guys provide to begin with. Of course, pop culture terminology is the least of one's concerns. What I want to point out is that the best way to tell if a level is well designed is that the ranking strategy has sound depth. Case in point, Shipyards Ablaze in Battalion Wars 2 has its interpret S-Rank, expect the player to command snipe with the manual fighter, which makes it clear to the player that the manual fighter can use manage utility against grounded opposition. It becomes a solid level for that actually, even if the depth can be put in question. But then again, you can still have depth in an otherwise generally shallow level, as Operation POW in the 1st Battalion Wars proves by giving your forces in the last portion the missile fest. You can just be kept on standby by somebody just interested in clearing the level and not wanting to toy with an unfamiliar unit, while a veteran player can bring them along to snipe the gunships off and end the level faster. Contrast to Rivals AC in Advance Wars 1, because oh boy do I have complaints about it that would take me all day to tear it. So I'll link to my video on it if you're interested in looking. And yes, I did link to my Rivals AC video. Thing is, I was making a point about how Rivals AC is still an example of what not to do with a level. It is RNG near survival against other issues, ending with a dragged out leap of faith, and is ultimately screeching at players to get online information or go through insane trial and error and doesn't have even the smallest idea of how to tackle it. And talking about Rivals AC, which already asks for inappropriate jokes, the way it plays out is in advertising. It's calling out bad level design with clear evidence. And if you're going to have a spiritual successor to Advance Wars, you can't ignore Rivals AC's infamy. No one who did an episode about the normal version of Rivals for the worst levels ever series. And especially not when Vanilla TV Drums gives the Nintendo War series its own page for that one level. And Rivals still stands on that page. By the way, the post goes on to showcase further. My post goes on to showcase further reason why I talk about Rivals AC as an awful level. Namely, to point out about a contrasting level that's better, even if that's relative. Just to further punctuate my points against Rivals AC is the second part of my post, which I didn't snapshot properly, but I can read off of nevertheless. And no, I'm not saying that Battalion Wars is without its stinkers, but I find that between both Battalion Wars, Bonus Mission 3 and the first game is the worst level in there, and it's still better than Rivals AC, as I explained in the description of the video. Bloody center. And yeah, I ran into problems with Steam Censor because the video's ID involves a curse word. Involves having a curse word spelled exactly. And yeah, the video is my no pausing run of Bonus Mission 3. Anyway, that's the important question for a game's design, especially with single player. Are the garbage levels uncommon, especially compared to the good levels? and still capable of having strong enough redeeming qualities? The answer is yes. You have a keeper, guaranteed. Wargroove? Well, you're pointing out that S-Ranks rely on AI Roulette. I tore up in Battalion Wars 1 from bonus mission 3 for that at the top. He's close. And for reference, if you're wondering what AI Roulette I'm talking about with Battalion Wars 1's bonus mission 3, it's that the bomber targets one of the heavy tanks. And by all indications, the selected one is random. So it could actually be the one that restarts at the center tree if the AI data running is any indication. It's just that the battle starts up so chaotic. But don't quote me on that, especially when the expected glorified heavy tank solo for multiple level is still its own idiocy. However, bonus mission 3 actually takes the dogfighting portion that was Rivals AC's sole redeeming quality and provides it with more entertaining depth. Rivals AC's dogfighting was just a guessing game of what plane Eagle is moving in. Bonus mission 3's redeeming quality involves juggling between choosing whether you handle a given target or command a supporting fighter to take care of it for you. That's my point. Now, what is still the worst level in both Battalion Wars, being better at something that becomes very subjective about that tile for the advanced source games, especially with chem-based air AC existing, is a good sign for Battalion Wars in design. Of course, that I would have good points doesn't change that somehow the post gets classified as advertising and outright deleted as a result, which even happened after I made my next post. Here we go. And I thought up with quoting somebody else. Well, yeah. Here's what that somebody else did. My response? Please do not make up rules to make excuses either to support bad design or to censor me, or perhaps both. I would expect that from somebody who looks like this. And yes, that link goes to the page image for the trope bitch in sheep's clothing, because that's exactly what the accuser is, a case of a serpent looking like an innocent flower. Continuing with my response, and if my shilling, quote-unquote, isn't arbitrarily against the rules, quote-unquote again, anyway, then I'm in my every damn right to call out the rules for its own sake after bureaucracy's already very, very long track record of shining creativity without that loading, let alone some active biases. Tackle my argument, or you'll only prove you're just dodging the subject. And I bolded that last part because the false reporter was already wanting to do just that and dodge the subject. Here's the thing, the topic is already getting complaints about busted design. The false reporter, already an assigned beta tester, should not be ignoring valid complaints made by regular paying customers like Monty Sigurdsson. Deleting my post is nothing more than tossing out relevant comparisons to past games, which is an absolute subscription to the very same bad design the topic is calling out. The rest of the post is mostly me being a devil's advocate towards Monty's own response. And by the way, if you notice that I got a notification for a like or a YouTube comment of mine calling somebody a case of nice character mean actor, it's in reference to Sean Schemmel, the top voice actor Goku from Dragon Ball, over what Schemmel did to aggravate the already unstable situation with the Big McNachna. Not that Funimation isn't already hypocritical when they're apathetic to the very moral of the ending of Dragon Ball Super. Something I'd want to talk about more often, but spoilers are a thing. Let me tell you, you know what I'm talking about. In the given position, I did definitely take the high road. You can't claim I wouldn't at least make a top priority. Not when reason to do otherwise has its definite issues as it is, and certainly not when I'd be, alright, fully aware of the given obstacles. My final post on the topic is responding to another user who thinks that ranking being graded only by time is good design. Something that the Advance Wars series itself increasingly realized is wrong. Here we go. See, that's the problem with ranking it and being determined only by time. It's shallow as sin. You're assuming players shouldn't care about strategy or even about their own troops. That tells players to indulge in behaviors that would rightfully ask for mutinies and court-martials in real life. Contrast to rewarding troop care, which can still be speedrun, only it shows some freaking strength with compassion. I read posts and evidence of what makes full survival satisfying. Why doesn't it abandon feed? But then my post would be deleted or quote-unquote chilling. Because a false reporter said so, and people will agree for whatever arbitrary reasons because they don't care about supporting for evidence to point. By the way, playtesters think the game is fine because they tested it. There were people who had said that with games like Metroid Other M. I don't want to hear some nonsense about Icarus needing better wings to let him fly higher, because that's no substitute for common sense. And think, get good about RNG S-Ranks is elitism at its finest. End post. And also, you see the problem with the accusations of shilling. It's an excuse to block out substantial, irrefutable evidence of better design. And you can't claim it's forced either if there's evidence that contradicts the very idea of forgery in the first place. Case in point, what I would have presented was my Longplay video of Battalion Wars. It was basically an Iron Man run, and yet there's only one mission where I failed to get a perfect S-Rank, Purge. And even then, I'm satisfied with proving that the defense segment there can be done without losing a single unit. I only lost the perfect S-Rank by overthinking the manual infantry choice later on, but it would have been a perfect S-Rank / no casualties run of the level otherwise. I point to this when Battalion Wars had an active ranking system that judges by more than speed, with actually decent criteria to juggle. And you might point out that S-Ranks are supposed to be on the crazy side. Hey, guess what? Reckoning in Battalion Wars 2 as its perfect S-Rank on the crazy side, certainly with speed and power balance. Yet I managed the perfect S-Rank in the Longplay, with only one of Pierce's Leary Jenkins fighters lost. Mercifully not nearly enough to dent technique. The difference is that good design makes every ranking reward actual skill, not some dumb reset spam or clairvoyance. Reset spam is not even fair to Iron Man's whatsoever, and it just suffocates replay value. That's the reason why problems like RNG S-Ranks are a plague. And for the second part, actually responding to a part of Monty Sigurdsson's last post. You know, I could point to somebody else's documents and whatnot about AI design, but I don't want to have my post deleted because I was chilling. Whatever sense that would make. But do know that yes, I do agree that there's no excuse for demanding players just exploit AI for its own sake. And that somebody else is Checkmark Games, the maker of Shattered Thrones. The head of Checkmark Games, Stack Trace, once mentioned about having Shattered Thrones AI deliberately have issues with handling combo points, so as to punctuate efficient usage of them. Now that is a purpose. Expecting players to learn good use of a mechanic in order to overcome the computer is better than just screeching at the player to freaking reset spam and hope the AI does some absolutely low chance brain fart you'd expect out of Ubel and Battalion Wars. Monty Sigurdsson, if you're watching this and you're interested, I'll be sure to provide you URLs, so I don't have to worry about being accused of chilling here. And people, if you can claim that AI design isn't easy, but excuses don't change how good AI design reflects on better souls, especially when mountain resources for better game design are far more plentiful than they were in 2001, which isn't a free pass for Rivals AC involving idiocy up to and including having literally no forest, mountain, or reef tiles within any of its 510 spaces. And when Wargroove serves to aggravate mistakes, yeah, people are indeed correct to call it out actively. I know once the high train crashes, I'll be enjoying the validation. Or not validation, vindication. Of course, meanwhile, the only response answered my post is as follows. That's all it said, despite evidence to the contrary of the AI inexplicably behaving differently on a consistent basis than they did on a YouTube video. If this is all I can muster, all I have to do is wait until Monty Sigurdsson can point out how this fails miserably. This topic has been locked by a moderator. No replies can be made. Never mind! Chucklefish, you lost! By just closing the topic, you proved you have no valid arguments to fire back with. Your moderation hasn't been called out for pulling censorship. Locking the topic without saying why makes it abundantly clear. You have proven that you will hide behind any power you can to keep up the same brand of corrupt practices you had pulled with a mobber star and called Frickin' Universe. You have proven that you're just playing glorified dress-up for a rip-off and man-force that even think to do some things worse while caring nothing about what this series has gone through and having shown the audacity to play ignorant about the whole thing. All you care about is your own cheap laugh, and it makes it clear how you will even try to silence the likes of Monty Sigurdsson by affiliation just so you can try to censor me. The evidence against your behaviors, your clear abuse of powers, given by the gaming industry is overwhelming! Chucklefish! Chuckle your way out of this!